So you mentioned self-esteem, and what is the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence?
Self-confidence has to do with what we can do, like playing football or giving lectures or whatever. The better we do it, the more self-confidence we have, which is a wonderful thing. But self-esteem has to do with who we are. How do I feel about me as a person? How much do I know about me, and what do I feel about me? And if your parents are all the time telling you and teachers who you are, then you will of course not develop your self-esteem. And if you're constantly criticized for being who you are, then you will also not develop it. But I would like to say in this connection that this is one of the modern, post-modern mistakes. Because there are many parents, I'm a little cynical, but I call them romantics. And they have this idea that parenting means protecting their children against pain, protecting their children against life. And it is terrible. It is terribly, terribly, terrible. Because these children do not learn how to cope with life. They don't have any coping skills because they're protected all the time. So having children is like, it's like a marathon that parents are supposed to be there like every 10 kilometers with water and whatever, but the children have to run on their own legs. and you cannot run it for them. It is, I can understand this tendency, but we are seeing now in Scandinavia, we're seeing the first generation of these children who are now graduating from universities. I was invited in the Danish Parliament in February, not to talk to the politicians, but to the whole administration. And they are going crazy because they have all these brilliant academics, young academics, who cannot take no for an answer, who don't know how to deal with any kind of pain or disappointment, because they were brought up by these, what we call curling parents.
So how is self-esteem gained, and what can parents do to nurture their self-esteem? Can we criticize them? Can we praise them? Should we praise them?
No. No, praise and criticism is for self-confidence. That's okay. Self-esteem, the terrible truth is that there's not many things parents can do. There are many, many things that they should not do. But
like for example?
Well, we have been through that, but there are things that you can do. You can recognize, like, you know, I talked with my mother about, you can recognize who your child is. When I was born, when I was 7 months old, and I started eating solid food, my mother learned that she should take both my hands and put them on the table, and then she should put her left hand on top of my hands and press them to the table, and then feed me with a spoon. Only if I did not eat was she allowed to take her left hand and do like it. And then she had to let go very quickly, because then I would sink the food. Then came my generation. We were, you know, against violence. So we had to learn how to manipulate. So we started with the who is taking this. The concept was the same. The concept is, I'm your mother or your father. I know when you're hungry and when you're not. Since then, we have learned from very solid research that children can be responsible for their own appetite from the day they're born. So what do you do now if you are like a mother today or father and you have a 7-month-old who's sitting there? You try to feed him his mashed carrots and potatoes, and after the 5th spoon he's like, you know, what do? What you do is that you relax, you look at him in a friendly way that is very difficult for most parents. Because most parents are like acting, it's like, So look at him in a friendly way, like he was a good friend. And say, aha, so you're full now, with a little question mark behind it. That will give the child 2 wonderful presents for his self-esteem. First of all, he will get language for what is going on in his body. He will now know that when my body feels like this, the word is, I'm full. And if children were brought up knowing the language for their body, therapists would be out of work. So he now knows more about himself and he knows how to communicate it. Second, because mother and father are looking friendly, he says, aha, and being full seems to be okay in this family. Which, I mean, my family was not okay.